Welcome back, all you Point 3 people, to another episode of the Point 3 podcast. Hero Scroll, Spider Brando, and Lou back again. And this is going to be our first conversation for February. January was fantastic, but now we are going to be kicking February off with some more Wonder Man conversations, specifically some thoughts and theories on Wonder Man. So, if you didn't check out our thoughts and our review of Wonder Man, definitely go do that. Fantastic video. Highly recommend, if you haven't even watched the show, go watch it first before you do that. It is great. I'm sure you've seen great feedback. If not, you're here to hear first. But gentlemen, let's get into it. Wonder Man thoughts and theories. Hero Scroll, I'm going to kick it over to you. We love the 8 episodes. We somehow, some way, did not talk about this in the last video. For those of you watching, that's really hard for us to do. Really hard for us to do. But what are we thinking here, man? What's going on with Wonder Man post show?
And so there's a lot of theories floating around, right? A lot of people going down many different rabbit holes. Some that are make a lot of sense, some that don't. One that I think does kind of go down the middle of making sense. It's towing the line of making sense and not. It'll kind of depend on what Marvel ends up doing with it. But everyone's favorite topic right now, the source of his powers. Specifically, one question: is Wonder Man, Simon Williams, within the MCU, a mutant? You made a really good short talking about it not too long before the series started, but post the show, between some stuff that happened with Doorman, some comments that have come out from Andrew Guest, a lot of people, and I mean, a lot of people are asking that, and people can't decide. People are on the fence. They're up in the air. I don't know. SB, do you think he's a mutant?
I don't think he was a mutant because, as you know, it just doesn't seem like he was. They didn't really say he was born with those powers, but they also obviously didn't give us the answer how he got the powers, which is why we're having this conversation. But it's just nothing they said with the mom's conversation or brother's conversation made it seem like he was like always born that way. So I don't think he has the X gene, and kind of like what Doorman had with his interaction with the Dark Force and stuff from an external force. I think something similar happened in Wonder Man's life, or Simon's life, where he was exposed to something young and then developed it.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with it. And the interesting thing is they left enough. Some people don't like this about shows to where they leave certain things up to fans' interpretation or the audience's interpretation of it. And this was done very, very well because you can make a case for both ways, I think, especially with the X gene activates during adolescence or around the time of puberty, and then we talk about the fire in the show, and then it's like, ooh, is it around that time? Maybe maybe it just manifested somehow, right? But I do think that there is enough here that they could go back and tell that story of how he got his powers in his next appearance or season 2. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but I lean more that route because there's so much secrecy and it feels like the brother knows something a little more than was let on. The mom feels a little oblivious. We don't know what happened prior to all that, but also I would like to know what happens prior to that. So you get that, but I just think for how his powers are set up, again, this is the biggest low hanging fruit for me. The reason why I don't want him to be a mutant is there are so many other ways you can introduce the mutants and make it very clear and obvious. And we already have Namor. We have Miss Marvel and the changes that happen with that. But they feel like if you're going to do mutants and introduce them, why do it so subtly? Why not come in with a big bang boom, and make it such a big deal for as many people as, are saying, we want mutants. One, I don't know if you really want what you're asking for, but two, I just think you could do it in a much bigger event level style than to tease yet another mutant that has all these secrets in a Marvel Spotlight show that, people weren't even really looking forward to in the first place.
Yeah, it's hard, especially with Wonder Man, because again, if you know anything about his origins and how they're so closely tied to Zemo and like these other experiments that come out of it. It's hard to tell that story in the MCU, right? For many different reasons, because they just don't line up in that way. Um, so obviously, there's going to have to be some sort of change, and clearly that's why people are genuinely wondering if, no pun intended, they're genuinely trying to figure out, well, where does it come from? And to your point, they left so much in the show because they even the kitchen fire, they really could come out and just be like, "No, it was a fire." They could come out and say that it was just something that was a little less explainable because he's an awkward 13-year-old boy
Yep.
that doesn't want to talk to anybody. He's a loner. We don't know if he started the fire not because of outside powers, but because maybe he wanted attention from somebody. Who knows? They can explore that. Something else that they didn't really that they talked about but didn't fully explore, and I wonder what they will do with it. Maybe they won't touch it. But the death of his father,
Yeah.
they just kind of said, "Hey, he died from what?" And I thought there was going to be a little bit that they were going to be like, "Hey, it was some accident with his powers, and maybe that's why he's been on the radar for a little more." But no, so who knows where they're going to go with the origin and explaining of that. The main reason I don't lean that he's a mutant, I feel like they'll come up with a different origin. It's just he's never been tied in any way to mutants in comics in any way whatsoever. Even the biggest change of Miss Marvel, she did have ties because she was originally supposed to be a mutant in comics, and then at the time they were like, "Don't do that. We hate X-Men right now." But she was supposed to be, and that was rectified much later. Wonder Man has never had that tie to the X-Men. So I feel like it would come out of left field for the character. I'm not saying it's a bad change if they do. I just think, to your point, Lou and Brandon, from the things that we've seen from both the show and then just people's reaction to it, I don't see why they would put it here. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to just be like, "Yep, he's a mutant now. Everybody get excited for mutants. Woo!" Even though the show was amazing, I don't think that's the way you go about it.
Let me ask you guys this question. Do you think that it makes sense for his explanation of his power set to come in a Wonder Man 2? Or is it going to be in some other project that you guys think, hey, he's going to be in X, Y, or Z that's not Wonder Man 2? That's a good place to do it too. Like, what's the preference? And like, where are you kind of thinking he's going to show up next?
I would say season 2 would be good. But if it's like a spotlight, then it would be kind of cool to see him with like a scientist like Reed or something, like telling him that he's like the source of his powers or something. Because maybe Simon doesn't even know. It could be a huge thing that he might not even know how he got it or like remembered the event. So it'd be kind of cool to see like kind of like what we got with Kamala. Having like that little report broken down of her powers, the mutant thing at the end of the show. Something like that with Simon, but I don't know if that would be it would be cool for Wonder Man 2, but just they're like a spotlight for it. I would like it to have like a bigger budget and like not so character focused if it were to happen like that. I don't know where else that would be. Maybe if they do like a West Coast Avengers or like a Young Avengers thing, it could be like a little person roaming around there in that West Coast area, or if they do like a Shang-Chi 2, it could have a supporting role in there. Could be cool. And they go on like adventures together. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I do
Nobody
like
here.
that. I was gonna say I do actually really like the connection of Shang-Chi too, just because of Trevor and then the California ties as well. I don't see it as a bad thing to put them together. My ideal, like my personal ideal, is just do a Wonder Man season 2 and continue his story, because if they tell his story in the same way they did season 1, I don't think he ever has to cross over with any other Avenger, and he would feel amazing. But I think it's kind of inevitable for him not to show up. It would feel kind of weird. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I personally feel like if with how his character has evolved now, it would maybe feel a little weird for him to see this giant world-ending threat come and him not help. Maybe not even like necessarily go to New York, but if for some reason they find themselves in, an incursion, and then, all the states of the world are mixed up in everything. I don't see why he wouldn't show up to help. So set like 1A is Wonder Man for me. Option 1D is probably Doomsday.
Oh.
I wouldn't mind if he came out in Doomsday kind of as like I'm here to help. And everybody would be like, aren't you that aren't you that actor? He's like, yeah, but I actually have powers. I think that'd be a pretty fun way to put him into it and graduate him from the, into the bigger scene.
Yeah. The sooner the better he comes back. But
And
it just feels, I don't know. I mean, realistically, it's easily possible because this show was, I mean, they had the trailer for the show back in 2024 for those that say the show had no marketing. But they could have easily just shot him in Doomsday or added him to a scene here or there.
I mean, the show's been done. He's
Yeah,
had
that's what
time.
I'm
I mean,
saying.
there's no reason why they wouldn't call him in secret and be like, "Hey, just don't say anything. We're not going to announce you." And
Yeah,
let's be honest,
possible. Totally possible.
totally possible. It would be very refreshing for the MCU in this current day and age where a character that we saw in January come back 11 months later. That would feel good.
I think Spider-Man is too soon. Like, just knowing how the production of when that started and where it was being made and shot, I don't think. I mean, he doesn't really have a reason to show up in there either, unless it's like some post-credit scene that somehow ties into where he might show up in Doomsday if they were to do it. But I think seeing him in Doomsday would definitely feel good. Him and Sentry, I think, would be really fun to see together, just on a power set wise.
Get it injected in my veins.
Boys, I'm not gonna lie. My whole thing going into this show was, if I was gonna say he needs to be in Avengers Doomsday, it depends on the quality of the show and an overwhelming positive response for his character to justify putting him in a movie like that. And from my perspective, because the internet is all about your own perspective, from my point of view, I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. And those are the big two questions: Mutant, Doomsday. And I really, really, really think if they want to save the core Avengers team, I think their answer is Simon Williams. I think Wonder Man is the answer to the Avengers team, and Sam Wilson specifically. Because if he goes through and he says at any point in the movie, I'm getting a team together, and he's going to be the guy who's going to get powerhouses on his side. Sam, Shang-Chi, and Shuri have always been the top three for the new Avengers teams all day long. Everyone's like, well, what about Spider-Man? Spider-Man can do his own thing. All the Spidey people can do their own thing. Those New York fools, let them do what they're doing, right? But if Sam was like, I mean, imagine this world. Trevor and Simon, they're on the run from damage control. Who better to blend in and be just ghosts in a big city like a New York to try to escape, or like a Chicago or something along those lines? Them, they can do anything, right? I think that's one of the coolest things about this show that they showed them, is they can be whoever they want to be. Now, are people going to know what they look like? Potentially, but I think they're creative enough to kind of quell that, but in like a comic booky way, to like, we know that it's them, but like people are like, oh, I have no clue who you are, kind of like the Robin mask when it's like, I don't know your face, so okay. But enough that Sam shows up. Can you imagine if Sam shows up and he's like, Simon Williams and Trevor Slattery, like, I need you to come with me. And they're like, oh, we got busted. And they're like, we're recruiting you to be Avengers. And Trevor technically is like an honorary member, but the Shang-Chi connection is there. And he's like, what? No way. Bring an old CGI boy or whatever it is, the little dog with wings or something from like Talao, and pull them in. But I think you could do something really cool and have probably a team that could be on par, if not better than the OG team in terms of strength, ability, resources. Like, that to me feels like a good step up. If you add someone like Simon, like, are we talking he's on the level of Thor, Namor, and Hulk? Maybe. Maybe they offer him the ability and, like, there's your thing, like, Reed, you use your Shuri. You can pull in your Mystic Arts and have Wong. Like, there's so many things you can do. I don't know if it's gonna be too soon to be in Doomsday. For sure, Secret Wars to be on Sam's team, but I wouldn't mind seeing recruitment in a way of Civil War to recruit Spider-Man is done here to recruit Simon.
It could be done easier. I'll give you an even easier connection going back to Shang-Chi if they are on the run. But even if they're not, we know that at least Trevor's on the run.
Yep.
There's no reason why in my opinion, he wouldn't go back to Talal. Because I think they kind of made it clear that he left on his own reasons to go back to Hollywood. I don't see why Shang-Chi wouldn't accept him back in.
For sure.
And then there you have it. Simon is visiting Trevor, or he's with Trevor working on his next thing. There he's just practicing in Talal, and then Incursion or Doctor Doom shows up and he's like, I can help.
Yeah.
And there you go. You don't need a recruitment. Shang-Chi just brings him with him, and Sam's like, "Who's the? Isn't that? Wait, that's Simon Williams. So what's Wonder Man doing here?"
Yeah. And you have like a small
connection.
You have a small little tie-in too with that scene when they're in the mom's party and the cousins are talking about Captain America, and he's just like, oh, okay, whatever. It's just gonna be funny to see like him and Sam kind of sharing the same stage from that. But no, I think those tie-ins are like, for me, I would be willing to see Simon come in ASAP. To your point, I think it'd be just fantastic to turn that around very, very quickly. I do have like a sub thought of where I wouldn't mind seeing him. My only concern with this stuff, though, of like a Shang-Chi 2 or a Wonder Man 2, like, we have to think that none of those movies or anything are even close to being in production. And Disney Marvel is very much of, well, is it worth it? We'll see. I don't know. We got to see what the fans say if we're going to put investment into these things. So do we get that before this supposed reboot? Probably not, really. Is Wonder Man 2 going to leapfrog all the other shows that people are talking about to fit in between Doomsday and Secret Wars 1 or Secret Wars 1 and 2? I don't know. I don't think so.
No, but what I will say is, though, it's why they chose to keep Wonder Man has always been something that's like been at the back of my mind. Because again, we've known about its existence for so long, and it was supposed to come out, and then they're like, actually, hold off. Why now? Why pick now? Even if you believed in it, and I think, and let's say they did watch it and they did say, oh man, we have something good in our hands. Let's hold off. Let's add him in and put him in Doomsday, put him in Secret Wars. It very well could be a thing. I don't think he'll get a solo project before anything. I think if we do see a Wonder Man season 2, it will probably be after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I think most of the things that are like confirmed to come out is going to be after Secret Wars. So Black Panther 3, the next Spider-Man film, Shang-Chi 2, all that is going to be post Secret Wars. None of that is coming out before.
Now, I do have one other like Debbie Downer thing to say about this, though, because if you really think about it, it is a Marvel television show, which is separate. Those are completely disconnected. You could look at Echo and be like, well, that show kind of broke the rules that they put in place with being a spotlight and being like, you don't need any other information. It's like, yes, you do. And then it's like, well, this character is going to be this character. We just wanted to explore. And it's like kind of a character story. But then Kingpin was in it and then went off and joined another TV show. So like Echo kind of, I don't know, kind of went against what they were saying. But like there is a real world, though, to where we don't ever see Wonder Man again.
Moon Knight.
The Moon Knight effect, dude. Hawkeye season 2 was canceled. Daredevil Born Again, we knew that was a couple seasons, but like Daredevil, I think, is the pinnacle of superhero television, period.
And like no reference to Kingpin.
But like I just think like For me, I just have to say this. This is my last thing I'll say on this. For me, in a perfect world, I think Simon's earned the right to be elevated into a movie, but I also wouldn't mind if he stayed street level and they took Marvel Television and funneled everyone towards a Defenders event level 2-3 part TV series show. And Wonder Man is now like in that world. And they just run separately, and we can get into the comic tie-in conversation if we wanted to, and they're fighting some sort of threat that's affecting their, more grounded stakes and whatnot. But I don't know.
I think that would be really cool way how they do like a West Coast Avengers type thing to kind of keep it on like a smaller scale, but have a bunch of characters like this. I mean, Kate Bishop could come back for some like tie-in event, and they could really bring it on a TV show. People like that.
Yeah, I think they would probably call it something else other than West Coast Avengers. I wouldn't be surprised if
Oh
they.
yeah.
They
I just
call
meant
it
that
like,
just from like another Avengers team just out there, just as an
Guys,
example.
Doorman
They
was a
don't have to
Great
be on
Lakes
the West
Avenger, though.
Coast.
Come on now.
Either way, I think whenever we do see him next time, it's gonna feel well earned, and I think people will genuinely now be excited. Which, let's be honest, in 2020, at the start of, if you told us at January 1st, hey, February 1st, you're gonna love Wonder Man and you will genuinely cheer whenever you see him again, I would have laughed at you and told you to
Yep.
get out of my face.
We posted our hype rankings. Wonder Man made the list, but he was low. And I think right now it's, will the next show be better than Wonder Man?
Probably not, let's be honest. but the
Daredevil.
next
That's
It is
big,
Daredevil.
that's a lot.
it is. But you know what's also a lot, and is also from Daniel Disenchant. It's gonna be Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Ooh, yeah.
Next theory that we want to present to you guys, because I think it's one that worth talking about, just because we do know there is kind of confirmation of what of the organization ties. That's Damage Control, right? So we've known for a while like that the big rumors that Damage Control is going to be hunting either Spider-Man or someone in Spider-Man for unknown reasons and an unknown character. Gents, knowing that Daniel Disenchant did both, and I feel like he is specific enough to bring characters back for a reason. How do you think Damage Control is truly going to play a role in Brand New Day? What's going to happen there?
SB, we'll give you the floor to take first stab at this one, man.
We know the past Spider-Man connection and the rumors of them going after Sadie's character that we don't know who she's playing yet. I think it would be cool to explore, like, not them going after Spider. Well, they're gonna go after people, but I don't want to just say that they're gonna. Like, I don't want to say they're just gonna go after mutants and stuff like that. Sadie would be a potential mutant.
Oh, no, dude, that goes in the theory thing. But here's the thing that may help this conversation real quick. Because if you look at Damage Control, one of the biggest drivers in Wonder Man was they have a massive prison that is half full. And if they don't fill this, they probably can't justify getting the budget, and they need the money in order to get money, right? That this is where their funding comes from. And a lot of it's contingent on, hey, you built this really awesome thing, but there are no people in it. So put more people in it. And Cleary showed of, I know Simon Williams is on my radar, and it was a whole chase to get him. And that was one person that's put in there. Like, that's just one body. I think the interesting thing is obviously we know New York has a lot of superpowered individuals. My question to be, and here I'm curious what you think about this, is what is the timing going to look like? And if we know that Damage Control has a presence in Brand New Day, and we know that there are at least 3 to 4 superpowered individuals in this movie, from Sadie Sink's potential character to Spidey Punisher, and then Punisher, and then Hulk, is this going to fall in line of like Kingpin? Is Kingpin going to be in power? Is there still going to be the vigilante aspect of this and be like, hey, I give you guys full reign to come into New York and round up as many of the people as you can. We have the same goal. We want to get rid of these superpowered individuals.
I wouldn't be surprised if they found some way to maybe do that, right? Because a big part of what Fisk is wanting to do is obviously get that out and using the anti-vigilante task force, and that's obviously going to be a bigger part of season 2. And it seems from what Daredevil season 2 is showing us is that he's getting some backup. So more than likely the task force is going to go pretty quickly, and they're going to go permanently because more than likely Punisher in the Punisher special is taking them out and they're not getting back up. So he's going to be without a task force. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end a cool way that they want to connect it is he calls up whoever the head of damage control is and he's like, "Hey, I need him out. I got a list of ones you can take with you." Because again, to your point, they're like, "Hey, we need to meet a quota so we can get funding. We'll ask if they're an asset later."
Yeah.
Because clearly they'll ask that question because clearly at the end, or Cleary, sorry, at the end was like, "Hey, he could be a big help."
Right.
They're not worried about affiliation at the start. They're just worried we got to fill it up. We'll
Yeah.
see if they can help us later.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they do. If they go after everybody, I wouldn't be surprised. If they're going after certain ones, I also wouldn't be surprised. If you're going for the ones that cause the most destruction, an unstable Hulk, yeah, we want that in our Supermax prison. A potential mind reading telepath mutant person, I want that in my Supermax prison.
Yeah.
Spider Man, and he's not controlling, he's turning into a man spider. I want that in my Supermax prison.
Yeah. Because I think right now the way that damage control is positioned in the MCU, they're very much the collectors.
Mhm.
They have the resources, the ability, the weapons, all of that. And I don't think right now that they're like, let's go after mutants. I think that's more of like round them up,
Mhm.
ask questions later, to your point. But then also there's going to be a curiosity of like what makes these people tick. And I think the one thing that may come out of a lot of this too from damage control, I think, is going to be power inhibitors. I think that would be the next bigger thing that comes out of all this, because if even if you look at Simon, I mean, think about it. If Cleary had something like that, and maybe they do, I might just be missing it. But if he had something like that, like instead of like, let's trap Simon, do whatever, it's just like, no, or bam, we're slapping it on you. The Miss Marvel's about, no, bam, you're getting that slapped on you. So then we can use our ground forces to go and take you out. And then you have bigger threats. Like, who's to say that they're like the Thors of the world? Like, didn't you know they can't go after the Thors of the world? Like, you're not stopping gods. So the recruitment part of that, like, yeah, I would like to have a Simon Williams. I'd be like, oh, I'll send you. I'm not going to send Joe and Schmo, who are in a tank that's going to get flipped in 2 seconds by one hammer smash. Like, I want more super powered individuals. That could be something that they want to do with even Spider-Man.
Mhm.
If you can turn them and flip them, and that's like, I don't know. I think partnering with Fisk is a really good thing. Like, how much dirt does he have on Fisk? Like, you can use that to blackmail people. I would like to see damage control go that route to magnify the crime boss type of mentality and like be the new, not Hydra, but almost something along those lines to fill that void that we have without having a Hydra in the MCU.
I do think that type of void needs to be filled. I think the big corporation void has been left far too long. And we've been reading a lot of Marvel comics, and like you can tell it feels like a big void. But I think they're more of a neutral force. If they're gonna be any kind, they can swing either way. Like
Yeah,
there's gonna be times where damage control is good. They're gonna go in to help out, but then there's gonna be times, and more than likely in Spider-Man, where they're more of a hindrance, and Wonder
yeah,
Man, where they're more of a hindrance. You're getting in the way of things because clearly they are still following a set of laws, right?
right, right, right,
The big thing with like Trevor going in is they need evidence against Simon. Like they can't just go in there and arrest him on a thought. No,
right.
we need actual proof you are dangerous. Not that you have powers, that you are dangerous with them is what they need. So I don't think necessarily because another big theory is that I've seen is that damage control is going to be the main like push for the anti-mutant mindset in the MCU. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think, to your point, they'll probably start certain aspects of it, like power inhibitors, and it will get more people asking questions about it. But I truly think like the anti-mutant mindset is going to be way down the line in
Yeah.
the mutant saga and movies. That's where those types of questions will be asked. I just think damage control will be maybe a more extreme version of themselves that sometimes they're going to be good, sometimes they're going to be bad. And the best way I can kind of say it right now is that like Silver Sable, because I've been playing Spider-Man 1 again on the 2016 version. And in it, Silver Sable, they come in as mercenaries and like they're kind of good at the start, but then they evolve into something bad because of who they're working for, but then they kind of become good at the end again. I think something like that is going to happen with damage control.
Yes, yes. I just think there are two outstanding things that I think a Spider-Man movie could really swing, and it could follow up on what they potentially set up with Daredevil. I do think right now there's a lack. Wonder Man showed us there is a lack of information
Mhm.
and there is a lack of experience in capturing. And I would like to see damage control toe more of that unethical line or like question their ethics of how they're going through and doing this. Not getting in the real world stuff, but that makes them more of a good antagonist. But also, if they do flip, then they become a help or support for like an Avengers level movie or something along those lines. I just think that'd be really good. But I would like their elevation to happen in Spidey since they have so many Spidey ties. I do think that would be really good here. Really, really good. But let them be a mainstay and let the future movies be like, is control going to show up? That's what I want to feel from them. We know that they're going to show up in Spidey, but I want them to be impactful in Spidey.
Yeah, I agree. Whatever they do, I think needs to feel better than any corporation has before. Because I think Shield was very good, but even then, there was a lot of times where like Shield probably should have been involved, and then they just weren't. And then obviously they got eliminated because the Russos were like, I don't want them anymore. Uh, so I just hope that, to your point, whenever they come out, it's a question like, if I do this, if I fight and we blow up a building, like I don't want to be on damage control's radar.
Yeah. Yeah. They just need to get more proactive. I think it'd make them a lot more interesting to be a chase.
And
SP. Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
no, and I was gonna say, and a great way to tie them in is if they even want to, is having them work with Fisk. Like, going back to that point, not even towards the end, have them work with Fisk. Bullseye's out there. They're not stopping Bullseye. Damage control might be able to.
Well,
Fisk
there,
probably can't.
there is this. If we keep the trend of Daredevil is, pretty segmented in its own, is it something that the Tombstone could potentially fill?
I wouldn't mind it.
Need information, do some dirty work. Like I don't see why there isn't a world if Cleary is willing to do what he was willing to do, that there aren't people who are willing to do more extreme things, and that's work with the criminals to get information. Again, to the point, they're not overly proactive to like shoot first, ask questions later. That's how do I get more of this and more people? Well, who knows superheroes better than supervillains? That's
Because
all I got.
they're not well defined enough though, is the thing. Damage control. I mean,
Right.
they're just going after everyone. They don't
Yeah.
care. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I think they'd feel good like that. I think they'd feel good. Big brain theory in a perfect world. Is it the Spider-Man stuff that has them questioning people's powers? If there's the mutations and those, like, is that the catalyst? Is if they did a man spider thing, is that the catalyst for them to look at individuals at a deeper level to be like, how do we know that someone else can't turn into stuff like this? And they put more preventative measures in place.
I feel like that would be a good way, especially like if Wonder Man does like start working with the vendors and becoming like a public person, that's gonna destroy Hollywood of being like, how did this guy even become an actor if he had powers? And like he literally had like all these powers. So they're gonna be really questioning everything when it comes to the actors again and try making them go through like tests to make sure they don't have any super stuff in their systems.
Yeah. There's got to be, I mean, that and again, down the road, that could lead to something to where they find ways to have scanners to understand like who has what power and all that kind of stuff. Like that could be a gateway to more. And that could be your 616 or whatever we want to call this version of the MCU. That gateway into understanding of like, we've stumbled upon mutants. We know people are different. How quickly do they get to that point though? Does it happen now before Doomsday, or is that something that happens after? Because my only concern with damage control feeling as good as we think they can is time. Do they have time to be flushed out in a jam-packed movie like that? Because we don't know where else they're going to show up.
It'd be hard, but I think you can at least have them start questioning it at a minimum. Because I think maybe their mindset, especially with damage control, at least their mindset from being more antagonistic to better people and more of a help could be okay. Maybe let's not go after the people, but let's go after the people that are causing these people to come up. It's when you go after Roxxon. It's when you go after, any other organization in the MCU, Oscorp, whoever you want, if they existed. We're going after the people that are making these people because they're the real ones. They're the real villains. They're the superpowered ones that they're allowing these people to go out with just unchecked. We can't blame the people for it if they have that mindset change. And then what that allows room for is someone to be radical enough in the future of the MCU to come out and be like, it doesn't matter. You are born with that power. You are disgusting, evil people. And then you begin that anti-mutant mindset. But at a minimum, they should definitely at least start to question that, if you have a power, are you born with it or not? And does that mean you're good or bad?
Right.
They should start having a deeper understanding, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe that requires them to be cut a little bit,
Right. Either way, I think that they should play a bigger role in that question. That question feels like a natural progression in the MCU, and if they can get someone who's more outspoken to latch onto that, God, man, I wish Daredevil was tied in. That would be good. It'd be really good.
I mean, there's no reason She-Hulk and Daredevil wouldn't be, or She-Hulk be people they go for answers to lawyers as that.
Yeah. You know who has the answers for him? Nick Fury. It's got a little vial of answers. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, Kevin Feige has the answers though. That's
does he?
I don't know. Some of them, at least. We know that at least one answer is out there, and it was the first one that we did question because we didn't get to mention that. But is Simon Williams in the MCU a mutant or not? We know there's a definite answer. We just don't know. But Andrew Guest did confirm he has been given a definite answer by Marvel if he is a mutant or not.
Yeah.
So he just said, I'm not answering it right now. It's not for me to answer.
No, at the end of the day, kudos to the show for at least supporting and building more of a foundation for these theories and questions that like people want to know what's happening next. And again, I think that's probably one of the bigger things I've seen from people of like, now, whether this is for you or not, I personally don't think this should be docked against the show or movie. But like when I have questions of like, well, where do they go next? Like, I don't need a complete answer. Again, being a part of a cinematic universe, you got to leave the door open for next appearances and diving deeper into these concepts and all that kind of stuff. But just the fact that we want Simon and Trevor to be something, we want Damage Control to be something, we want the story to continue in another way. That's just 8 episodes of well done.
For real. Watch it for yourself if you haven't. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
And
trust me, even if you saw this the first time and somehow you made it through 30, 40 minutes of this conversation, it still doesn't do the show justice.
not at all. Not at all, because there's so many moments that exist in it. And then who knows, maybe you come up with your own theories as well about it. And you can let us know what theories you have and what you thought about ours.
You know where you can let us know about it? In our Discord. Where we
Oh,
do watch parties. And Daredevil watch parties. On top of Invincible and The Boys. I'm excited for the March. March is gonna be fun.
February's a short month, y'all.
Yeah.
February is a short month, and Super Bowl trailers are going to feed us, and I think February is going to fly by because of it, and then we're going to be in March, and it is time. Lots of good stuff coming. Lots of good stuff.
Well, with that being said, the 3 most important things that you got to do throughout February until March and the rest of the year, you must keep watching, keep reading, and keep nerding out.